Coming up on No Pulp, the calendar has flipped, the clocks have gone back, and it's now or never for a lot of college football playoff contenders. We'll tell you about if these bid stealers ended up stealing these bids.
And we have a big-time matchup in the Juicer. This determines whether I live or die. Not really, but just in the Juicer standings. I take on Drew Albaugh, an underdog. Or maybe I'm the underdog. We'll find out.
We'll also build our own quarterback, channel our inner Dr. Frankenstein, and also talk about the group of 5 on this episode of No Pulp, which starts right now.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
They just don't lose at the shoe.
She's the best player in women's college basketball in my eyes.
To stay alive, can they hook them? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
He's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the number
That's everything for a team.
on.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the Juicer.
Happy November from our CitrusTV studio with Hudson Ridley. I'm Max Gifford. College football is as fun as ever. These next 2 months are sure to be just so much must-see college football. But we have to start. I mean, these college football playoff contenders, some are staying, some are going. And we might have seen some bid shake-up with Texas taking down Vanderbilt 34-31 in their first home game in 42 days. 2 of the biggest Arch Manning haters. And oh boy, Arch Manning looks like a new man.
Yeah, my Arch Manning hate watch was not good. I have to admit when it goes wrong. Now I will say Arch Manning a little bit fraudulent in this game. A lot of his good passing production was dump offs and wide receivers doing the work. I understand that, but it is hard to argue with what he has done in the last 2 weeks. An average of 337 yards per game, 6 touchdowns to 1 pick. He looks like a new quarterback, and plus, he's not playing Louisiana Monroe. Now, like, these are actual teams.
And how about the fact that he was in concussion protocol until Wednesday and was on the injury report until Friday? So it was a question mark of whether he was going to even play or not against Vanderbilt. And first play of the game comes out and throws a 75-yard pass all the way down the field. That was run down the field by Texas to score the first play of the game.
I mean, he's a Manning, so his head should be big enough to shake off any concussion, and it certainly did look like it. But yeah, his wide receivers did shoulder a lot of the load for him, but I do credit that to Steve Sarkisian, right? You know that your quarterback struggles throwing down the field, throwing 20-plus yards past the line of scrimmage. Okay, what are we going to do? Design dump-offs, short routes, get your wide receivers who are very dynamic and better than defensive backs on Vanderbilt, get them into space. That's exactly what they did, but you also have to credit, too, on the other side. Vanderbilt did not give up. One of the more incredible comebacks that we've seen in quite some time.
Outscored Texas 21-0 in that fourth quarter, and if you ask me, probably should have gotten that onside kick that ended up trickling out of bounds at the last second.
I hated that. I hated that.
It was so frustrating, especially because Texas just played awful in that fourth quarter. Vanderbilt almost erased a 24-point lead for the Longhorns, but I think you said it perfectly. I mean, this is the kind of game that Steve Sarkisian was made for, a way to design his offense how it should be, and all of a sudden, now Texas is back in the college football playoff conversation.
And Vanderbilt, look at how far Vanderbilt falls, down to number 15 in the national rankings, middle of the pack in the SEC. And sure, that Alabama loss looks completely fine if you're Vanderbilt because of the quality opponent that Alabama is. I do not think of Texas highly at all, and now you lose to Texas and the wheels are falling off for Diego.
So what do you make of their final stretch? Because they go to Georgia, they take on Arkansas, and they have to play A&M at home.
Well, here's the problem, because the door is fully still open for Texas at this point, which again, as a Texas hater, I cannot stand that the door is still open for them. But you must admit, the way that they look right now and the way that Georgia has been shaky to start games, they could beat Georgia. They will definitely beat Arkansas, and they can beat A&M. I don't think they will, but it's certainly possible. I'm still interested, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Georgia game is going to be telling, and I think that A&M game might be one of the best games of the entire season, especially because it's down in Texas.
It was a big shakeup in the SEC, but this week, there were even bigger shakeups in the ACC, Max, and really possibly not one bigger in the ACC than Georgia Tech and NC State. NC State puts up 48 points on Georgia Tech and wins 48-36. Georgia Tech came out completely flat-footed and not expecting this from NC State. Not what you've come to expect from a Brent Key coach team.
But this isn't necessarily the most surprising result of all the things that could have happened in college football, because Georgia Tech has been allowing a lot of points defensively, and I think it's gotten to a point that the best defense for Georgia Tech has been offense to a point.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point, Haynes King can only do so much, because he did Haynes King things this game. He still accounted for 4 total touchdowns in this game. He still ran his little booty off into that end zone.
He sure did. Over 500 total yards for Haynes King on the day. It was an incredible performance. Over 400 passing, 100 rushing, and it shows how much he carries the team. But I like what you said. It's almost that the best defense for Georgia Tech has been its offense, because its ground game has the ability to control the clock. Well, when that doesn't work fully, and when you mess up a couple of times, you turn the ball over, and NC State capitalizes every single drive. Sometimes it's just your night, right? And that happens. That was NC State's night. Saturday was fully NC State's night, and there was nothing that Georgia Tech's offense could do to counter how bad their defense played. This is big for Georgia Tech now, because, if they can't afford a mistake down the line, it kind of crowds the ACC field a little bit more. I still think the Texas-Vanderbilt result matters a little bit more this week to what we saw in seeding. But as far as inside the ACC, you see the shakeups there. Georgia Tech now falls down to number 2, so still well within the mix. But Virginia up to number 1, my goodness.
And how about the fact that Virginia's one loss came to an ACC team, but they don't credit that as an ACC game.
And it was NC State.
Yes.
It was NC State. So NC State, who is all the way down that list between Miami and Wake Forest, has beaten Virginia and Georgia Tech, the top 2 teams in the conference.
And, well, the thing with Georgia Tech, I think that still stands out, is the fact that, their defense has to improve going forward, especially down the stretch. And I think at this point you have to win the ACC championship, because it's getting to a point that it's very unlikely there's going to be 2 teams from the ACC in the college football playoff like there were last year, because you don't have the SMU of the world, who was undefeated going into that championship game and then ended up falling to Clemson.
You still have to beat Georgia, too. I mean, that's the one heel in Georgia Tech's schedule every year. Even if you want to be good at the end of the year, you still have to play Georgia every year. And yes, it's a rivalry, and yes, it was close last year. And yes, you might even look better than Georgia this year, but that's still a tough game no matter what.
Well, I'll tell you, one team that looked better than another ACC team, I mean, it might as well be called the All-Chaos Conference, and it's honestly the All-Cannibalism Conference at this point, because SMU took down Miami 26-20 in overtime. How about Lashley signing a 7-year extension and then getting the biggest win of his career down in Dallas? I mean, what an incredible performance by his squad, especially in that overtime period when they had -2 rushing yards all game and then just ran the ball down Miami's throat.
Yeah,
at the finish.
They ended up with positive 27 for their main back, TJ Harden. All of that positive yardage ended up coming in the end in overtime. And you can't really fault Carson Beck too much in this game. 2 tipped interceptions. So it's really a struggle in my mind to say, okay, this was his fault. But Miami as a whole and Mario Cristobal, I mean, this is bad right now. This is bad. And I do truly think that Miami has a lot of good pieces, but they're a team in my mind that is just so over the hill from where they were in the early 2000s and in the 90s, and always trying to relive the glory days, and a program that will be perpetually sad. And this is another example of them being perpetually sad.
And this is just shades of the Syracuse game that happened a season ago, and now Miami's playoff hopes become maybe little to none this early in the season. Now, I did say that SMU got those rushing yards in that overtime period. I think Miami's defense kind of gave up at the finish because Beck ended up throwing that interception, and you understand that all they need is a field goal to win after that because they surrendered the possession. And Carson Beck, I mean, he's got 6 interceptions in the past 3 games.
He does, and two of those being losses, and one of them to a Louisville team who's much better than SMU. I do think of SMU as a very hit-or-miss team. And again, when you have your day, you have your day. Carson Beck did not have his day. And so now losses to Louisville and SMU, and at this point, Like, where do you go from here if you're Miami? Your season is pretty much over. And yes, you beat Notre Dame. That's a good win. South Florida's looking less and less like a good win week to week as they kind of tail off. Florida State, yes, it counted as beating the 18th ranked team at the time. That was not the 18th ranked team in the country in terms of how well they play. And then your losses are to two teams that, yes, Louisville is ranked and I like them, but SMU, boy. And they stormed that field hard at SMU too, by the way. They ripped the goalpost down. It wasn't like bringing the goalpost down. They literally snapped it off the thing. The metal bent, they snapped it, and somebody said, well, at least SMU will always have the money to replace it, which is very interesting. You know who has the money to replace something? The state of Louisiana and LSU. But here's the problem. They not only have to replace a head coach, but now they have to replace an athletic director in Scott Woodward. And it's not just the school body who's saying this. It's not the school president. Take a listen to what Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry had to say.
No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach.
Quite frankly, I love James Franklin. He's a great head coach and he's a builder of men. And I must admit, this is what Jeff Landry wants me to do. How stupid does that sound? I will let Donald Trump pick the next.
He sounds like if Chris Mad Dog Russo was a governor.
Oh, 100%. He sounds like, when you think about what Ed Orgeron sounds like, I can't understand that guy. But that guy's a football coach. This guy sounds like he's had more concussions and he's the governor of a state. This is so bad. If you're LSU, this is so bad. You're the governor of your state is meddling in your affairs, and now all of a sudden, I wouldn't want the LSU head coaching job because the mandate of heaven apparently, and the governor of Louisiana is going to say, oh, I don't want that guy. Oh, also the athletic director has to go too.
Well, I think it goes back to what Jake Klein said a week ago on this program. The standards are way too high at LSU at this point. What, 4 losses at this point? They haven't had more than 4 losses since 2021 when Coach O was in his final year before the Brian Kelly era started. So it doesn't make sense that anyone would be, appealed to go to LSU at this point, especially with, the governor down here.
Exactly,
like
and
that.
I hate Brian Kelly, right? Don't get me wrong. There are very
Maybe you
few,
feel a little better for him now.
I don't toss around lightly. I hate Brian Kelly. I will not feel better for him. He's bad. He's a bad guy. He deserved to get fired for the kind of person he is. I fully understand that. But he gets fired on October 26th, and then 3 days later, that's when Jeff Landry said Scott Woodward will not hire the next one. We're going to put together a committee. And then Scott Woodward is out as athletic director the next day. And yes, Scott Woodward, a couple of bad contracts. Jeff Landry did say that himself. I was going to read this in my normal voice, but I might as well say it how he would say it. There's a number of bad contracts that seem to follow around Scott Woodward, which just seems to be the way they talk. But here is what I will say to Jeff Landry in the end. U.S. News and World Report ranks Louisiana bottom 5 in crime, economy, education, healthcare, and infrastructure. If you think the athletic director is a problem, buddy, you got to figure out your own state.
Because they have a lot more problems to deal with. And I think on that same front, I think the state taxpayers might have to start paying for these buyouts at some point, especially if they don't get some private donors in there. But do you really want Donald Trump picking your head coach as well?
Well, when you're 50th in economy, this is really going to suck. Jeff Landry, get the economy good. Maybe you buy a new head coach. This is a disaster right now at LSU. I think this is a horrible situation for a program that I really like, and I hate to see it go down this way.
Well, Jeff Landry did say Donald Trump likes winners.
He likes winners. He likes them a lot. He likes a lot of winners. Brian Kelly, not a winner.
And I know Hudson likes winning, but will he win the juicer? High-stakes matchup between Hudson Ridley and Drew Albaugh. Stick with us. Should be a good one before the juicer tournament. Welcome back to No Pulp. Max Gifford, Hudson Ridley, and Drew Albaugh.
Thanks for having me.
Joining the show, joining the Juicer, which is just about to take place. Mentioned it was high stakes. Hudson, with a win today, you would clinch the #1 seed in the Juicer tournament. But Drew, with a win from you, you eliminate Hudson from the Juicer tournament.
And make the Juicer
Both
tournament.
these fellas, victims of Chloe Smars a semester ago in the Juicer tournament. So the ghost of her in here somewhere today cheering on one of you. Who that is, I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be the little voice in my head telling me who to pick at the end of these questions. And we'll start with question number 1. Hudson, we'll go to you first. The most exciting player to watch in college football right now?
I think the best play in all of sports, I think you'll agree with this, is a home run. There's nothing better than a home run, right?
It's the hardest play.
It's the hardest play to
stick
do.
to football?
You know what else? You know what else is important? Hitting home runs in football. Home run hitters that hit runs of more than 80 yards, 70 yards, 60 yards. Jeremiah Love does that better than anybody else in the country. He is an absolutely electrifying running back. And with a system in Notre Dame that can't always rely on CJ Carr to throw the ball down the field, not only is he electric, he's needed. I want you to watch what he does here. He has so much speed to outrun this safety, he's just looking at his sideline. It does not matter to Jeremiah Love that safety can hawk him down, because you know what? He can't. Last year, when he started off for Notre Dame in that first round against Indiana, Max, the battle for the state that owns your heart, Jeremiah Love went 99 yards. He's evasive. He slips off of tacklers. The hurdles that he has, not to mention, he's got one of the best hurdle packages we've ever seen in college football. I love Jeremiah Love. I hate Notre Dame, and I love Jeremiah Love.
Hudson loves Love. What do you like?
I like another Jeremiah, but it's Jeremiah Smith. I'm going to go with the wide receiver out of the Ohio State University, the #1 team, and it happens to have the most exciting player in college football. And a big reason why, not only because he had over 120 yards and 2 touchdowns against Penn State, but it's because he had 55 receptions, over 700 yards, and 9 touchdowns this season. He's the only player in the Power 4 who has all 3 of those statistical categories. And he's only 19 years old, 220 pounds, and can run a 4.35 40-yard dash. A 4.35 at 220 pounds, and he happens to be on the best team in college football. If that's not exciting, electric down the stretch, I don't know what is. And in the college football playoffs, Smith is going to be the most exciting player.
He's a cog in a machine. He's a good cog.
He's a cog in the machine. He's the highest rated wide receiver of all time out of high school.
All right, both compelling answers. Hudson, I mean, you had the keys to my heart. Home run, baseball. But then you had to bring up Jeremiah Love running on my Indiana Hoosiers. Know your crowd. Drew gets point #1 for Jeremiah Smith. We'll go to question 2 here, and we'll go to Drew with him up 1-0. What result this week will have the most impact on the college football playoff?
NC State, with a win over Georgia Tech, was #8, now #16. It was a 12-point win. The Yellow Jackets pick up their first loss of the season, but that's not why it matters. It matters because now the ACC most likely is going to be just a one-bid conference, and there's a few reasons why. A, of course, Georgia Tech loses, but B, Louisville plays SMU and Virginia plays Duke down the stretch. And because of that, and Miami picking up a loss this past weekend, unless some crazy scenario happens, the ACC is going to be a one-bid conference, and you can circle it all the way back to last night as NC State takes down Georgia Tech, a Yellow Jackets team I never thought was really that good. NC State proves it with a win over Georgia Tech, and the ACC proves yet again they cannot hang with the SECs, the Big Tens of the world.
I mean, to be undefeated, you still have to be pretty good. But Hudson, what was your result?
Well, listen, Georgia Tech losing affects one team, right? It affects Georgia Tech. In that game, it affects one team. Texas and Vanderbilt affects both of those teams in significant ways. We talked about it earlier in the first section of this show where we mentioned we hate Texas, right, Max? We do. but Texas beating Vanderbilt completely swings the door wide back open for Texas to make a miraculous run to the college football playoff. It makes things a lot muddier for Vanderbilt. Alabama looks like they're secured, and I like Ole Miss's position. But now one loss for any of those teams, and it is an exact matchup with the entire top of the conference in a conference that has 3 bids in it. So everything gets jumbled up based on this one game alone. If Vanderbilt beats Texas, I mean, we're not thinking about how much chaos could happen with a loss like that, but they didn't. They didn't.
The ACC's already looked at as a joke, and this only adds to it because of the Georgia Tech loss.
Yeah, I mean, they're a joke. Yeah.
Well, I did say it was the all chaos conference for a reason. I actually called it the all cannibalism conference. And Hudson, we also mentioned it. We think Texas is going to lose. We don't think they're going to win out. We don't think they're going to be a problem. Horns down, and Hudson is down 3-0. So Drew's feeling good going into question number 3, as he should be. But we'll go to Hudson. This is the make or break. This is the biggie.
It's true.
Who is the player that is most valuable to his team?
Without a doubt. If Haynes King is good, Georgia Tech does better. When Haynes King has to carry an entire team on his back across the finish line, Georgia Tech's defense couldn't stop the Little Sisters of the Poor at this point. And still, they got to this point being 8-1 because Haynes King is a Heisman candidate and leads his team on the ground and through the air in ways that we haven't seen in quite some time, at least statistically. Haynes King and what they can do with that offense under Brent Key has shocked everybody. The reason being, they got so much better in the offseason. Haynes King slept in the locker room during the offseason because he wanted to win so bad on Georgia Tech this year, and they've done it. But if Georgia Tech wants to continue through the rest of the season, do well, and make the college football playoff, there is nobody that hinges more on their success in the conference than Georgia Tech hinges on Haynes King, and I would argue nobody more in the country relies on one single player than Haynes King.
As someone who has slept in some obscure places, I do relate to Haynes King. But Drew, who do you think impacts their team the most?
I'm going with another quarterback that lost last weekend, but it's the right choice in this point of view because it's Diego Pavia, quarterback for Vanderbilt. And the main reason why is because of a very simple reason. Pavia, or rather Vanderbilt before Pavia, get this, 2-22 in the SEC. Head coach Clark Lea was 9-27 overall. And in the last 2 years with Pavia, 14-8. It's the biggest 2-year turnaround in the SEC. You want to talk about the word valuable. What that means to a team, Diego Pavia is the most valuable player in all of college football. This is a guy who has over 2,000 yards passing, over 500 yards rushing, and 24 total touchdowns. Are you kidding me? And Vanderbilt is knocking on the door of that college football playoffs, as I should be as well with that answer.
Pavia was also sacked 6 times this past weekend.
Yeah. Great. He makes plays.
That's why Hudson is getting question
because
number 3.
Sacked.
And that's why he's tied up. He only had 7 sacks all season before that.
Great.
He was sacked 6 times today. All right, big bonus question coming up. Which ranked team in college football is about to spiral? Drew, we go to you.
I'm going to go with Virginia. The main reason why, it's because Virginia has won, and they've won tight, not just last week, not just the week before, but the last 5 weeks have all been, outside of last week, a 10-point win against Cal. A 1-score game,
all right,
3 of them in overtime.
We get it.
3 of them in overtime.
We get it. You like Virginia.
He's punishing Virginia for losing games. How about Memphis, a team that a couple weeks ago just lost to UAB, hasn't faced anybody tough, hasn't faced anybody tough, and they're about to be unranked after this next week.
Virginia could barely beat Cal.
They have Tulane on the schedule and Navy, the best 2 teams in that conference. There's no chance they pass by there. They won't be ranked after this week and will remain off.
They won 22-20 over Washington State, and you think this team isn't going to spiral? Virginia can't hold.
Washington State just lost.
Look, Hudson has not been in my good graces today. He dished on my Indiana Hoosiers a little earlier, but he knows that I do love the Tulane Green Wave.
Oh,
and what they did to Memphis. That's why I give Hudson the win, and he is the number 1 seed over me in the juicer standings.
Roll wave.
If you want to call this biased, you can, but now Hudson is on top of me in the juicer, so I get a worse matchup in the juicer.
That's true. The cannibalism there, this is the all cannibalism conference.
My goodness. Is it because I said Virginia?
Yeah, pretty much.
Again.
Not a real state.
If Hudson and I have learned anything about these juicers, it's play to your judge. Hudson did that better than anyone today. We're not done yet here on No Pulp. Time to build our quarterback. Who's the best mental guy? Who's the best arm? Who has the best legs? We tell you on the other side. Stick with us.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Halloween just ended, but the Monster Mash is still playing through my head. That's Max Gifford. I'm Hudson Ridley, and it's time to have a Frankenstein experiment. Now, I was told to read Frankenstein in middle school and high school. I have not read it, I will be honest. But I do know the general plot. We're putting pieces together to make something special. And this time, it's a quarterback. So, Max, we have 3 things that we need to focus on. The first one, and probably the most important one, the brain. Who's Frankenstein's brain? Who's getting put in here? Who is the best mental QB in the country that you want to take their IQ from?
Well, I also had to read Frankenstein this year for English 125. I didn't read it, so I don't know if Frankenstein has a brain or not. But the guy I'm going with is a guy that's now being talked about as someone who could go first overall in the NFL draft, and that is Ty Simpson. A relatively inexperienced quarterback. Look at that nice little headshot on him, too. Great helmet as well to go along with it. But Ty Simpson has been incredible over this last stretch from Alabama. And I think that's the thing that stands out to me the most is the fact that when it comes to the mental side, you have to be good under pressure and you have to have quick decision making. And Ty Simpson has been better at that than just about anybody in the entire country, especially after losing the first week to Florida State. It takes a mental toll on you to have to carry the burden of an Alabama squad that has been so prominent in the national media throughout the years. He's had to come back and he's had to perform at the highest level. I mean, when you talk about this guy, sometimes diagnosing some of those pre-snap coverages, he's been one of the best in the country in that, and diagnosing some of these SEC defenses, that's one of the hardest things to do in the country.
You know, I do agree with that, and I'm going to go with a guy that he was in a tight quarterback battle with not too long back then to be a practice squad guy, Julian Sayin, who's now at Ohio State. The other day, Nick Saban said something on College Game Day. He said the head coach of Alabama, when Julian Sayin got there, must have been the biggest idiot of the world because he had him on the practice squad. Guess what? That was Nick Saban who had him on the practice squad, and really for no good reason, because Julian Sayin has gotten better every single week. 23 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. When I think about a guy that's going to play the game mentally sound and smart, it's Julian Sayin. Plus, with the double coverage that Jeremiah Smith has faced this year, with some of the issues that Carnell Tate has run into this year, the fact that Julian Sayin, as a first-year starter, can go through his progressions to the level that he can, I think there's a lot going up on there in the brain of Julian Sayin. But honestly, both of these two right here are fantastic.
Right, and I think the one knock against both these guys is just, a little bit inexperienced up to this point. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Their wide receiver rooms don't necessarily carry them. And I think with the injuries that Ohio State has had, with some of the issues that they've had in their room, I think that Sayin has proved himself as a viable option to be one of the best mental quarterbacks in the entire country. So we've got the heads, we've got the brains. Now it's time to look at the arm, because you have to throw the ball as a quarterback, at least for the most part you do. Who's the best quarterback arm, or who's your quarterback arm on your Frankenstein monster?
I saw this arm with my own 2 eyes slice up Syracuse. It's Duke quarterback Darian Mensah, a guy who's getting paid $8 million over a couple of years. And there's a good reason why. it's not all about the arm strength. A lot of it is about touch and finesse, and he drops balls in buckets. That is exactly what he does. He throws with so much touch and finesse to the right spots, dotting the pylons each time. And the thing that I respect about him too is he does very well on the road and under pressure. The one team that he really struggled against at all this year was Illinois. He didn't have the best game against Illinois, and at times Georgia Tech's defense did get to him, but his ability to make throws under pressure from weird contorted angles with beautiful perfect touch, I mean, that is an NFL quarterback right there, and he is not eligible this year, but when he is next year, that is a high value draft pick because of that arm and that ability.
And no, Mensa has continued to prove himself all season long. Another guy who has done that has been from the Indiana Hoosiers and Fernando Mendoza. I love these cutouts.
Wow, that matches.
That actually matches pretty good.
That's awesome.
The cream and crimson right there going along with the cream and white. I don't know exactly what Alabama's colors are. I guess they are the crimson.
They're the crimson and white.
So exactly, it works perfectly. But how about Fernando Mendoza, man? I mean, this guy coming over from Cal, a 3-level quarterback in every sense of the word. And he's got maybe the best touch in college football. He can pass it high, he can pass it low, he can pass it quick, he can pass it slow. But the thing that is most important is that he's an accurate passer. Boy, oh boy, is he accurate. Are you seeing some of these catches that his receivers are making? It doesn't matter where it is. It could be up by the goalpost. It could be all the way up in the sky. He's having to drop in the bucket as well. I mean, both on paper, both fantastic quarterbacks and have both shown off their arms at a premium this season.
I certainly agree. And on the Fernando Mendoza side, this is a guy who came into this year with a lot of question marks. He did it at Cal, but he was shaky sometimes. Sometimes the decision-making was off. He looks so much better in Cignetti's system. I absolutely love what Indiana has done. They will be in the college football playoff this year, of course, probably in the national championship game as well. That is how much I like Indiana, and a large part of it is Fernando Mendoza. I think the builds of our quarterbacks look good. Your guys' legs match up a lot better than mine, but I'll tell you why. I have picked my quarterback for rushing reasons. Devin Dampier, Max, who do you have? Sorry, I would like to start with you. I was thinking about my guy a little bit too much. Who's on Fernando Mendoza's body here?
Well, you can see he's got some pretty sturdy legs, but he's got a pretty lean body for my guy. And I didn't tell Drew Albaugh this, but it would have been a crime if I picked against you for the answer, because my guy for my legs is Haynes King.
Ooh.
I mean, these are two of the best legs in all of college football right here. One of the best dual threat quarterbacks we have ever seen.
This is true.
I mean, probably the best since Jaden Daniels, I would
guess
say.
it really depends on what you consider dual threat, because a lot of those rushes are designed. He leads the nation in design QB yards. That's not to discount how good of a rusher he is, but it is all designed.
But that being said, even with those designs, you still have to be somewhat elusive, you still have to be somewhat athletic, and you still have to be tough as nails to break through all these tackles, especially when it's known before the game that he's such a commodity with his arm and his legs. So these defenses and these defensive coordinators, for a fact, I mean, they're having nightmares every time they have to play Haynes King, because you have no idea what hand he's going to throw at you. You have no idea if he's going to use his arm or he's going to use his legs. He's putting over 400, 500 all-purpose yards per game, and he's getting 3 to 4 total touchdowns between throwing and running.
Pure rushing talent, I do agree with you there. Probably the best legs. But a guy that I really like as far as scrambling goes, which I consider to be the main thing that I would consider in terms of the legs debate, Devin Dampier from Utah. I think he is absolutely fantastic. I like this uniform combination. That's not too bad. One of the main reasons is he is so incredibly elusive and can fit through tight gaps. This isn't a bruising Haynes King. This is a guy that slips in behind tackles, and when he has blocks and gets down the field from his wide receivers, even when it's on designs, he is incredibly special. The one reason why I would put him over Haynes King to make my Frankenstein of a quarterback is the fact that when he's under pressure, he can escape and roll out. Haynes King is fast, but he's not necessarily quick. Devin Dampier is both. That's why I really like him, and his throw on the run is great to go with Darian Mensa's arm. I really like my quarterback, even though it doesn't look as cool as your perfectly laid out quarterback.
But what about Spencer Fano blocking for Devin Dampier? You don't think that helps him at all?
He's been bad this year. He's been bad.
Come on.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. But what I will say is, We got plenty more. Milo Hoffman joins the show as we have a breakdown of the group of 5, a region and a lifestyle, really, in my opinion, that has the keys to my heart. We'll hear about the triple option and a whole lot more when we come back on No Pulp.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More guest time on No Pulp. Hudson Ridley, Max Gifford, now Milo Hoffman joins the show. Hopefully you leave a little happier than Drew Albaugh did.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't tell from the beautiful graphic behind us, it's time to discuss the group of 5. Maybe they are invited to the college football playoff. That's yet to be seen. The first rankings come out this Tuesday. I mean, the entire group of 5 has been such an anomaly this year, especially when we compare it to last year with Boise State.
Exactly. This can go really any way, but the fact that they do have a bid in this is very important, and I like what the NCAA has done with this.
I think the fact that it's been very entertaining this season, too, is bringing a whole nother aspect to this whole thing. I mean, these are schools that don't normally have the light shined on them. Now it's actually coming close down the stretch. People are really tuned in to who's going to make it.
All right, so if it's entertaining, Hudson, who do you think can bring that entertainment to the college football playoff from the group of 5?
I mean, it's a team that I don't think a lot of people are talking about right now because they don't realize that San Diego State is 7-1 right now, and for a very good reason.
Is this basketball?
San Diego State, exactly. You wouldn't expect San Diego State to really make a run. They have an electric defense right now. Number 2 scoring defense in all of FBS. Only 10 points per game allowed, and we're most of the way through conference play at this point. They also have 2 big-time opportunities down the stretch to get wins against teams that are important to beat. Boise State, who is not as good as last year, but still pretty good, and then a sneaky New Mexico team that just reached the 6-win mark and is expecting San Diego State to bring a good game. I really do like San Diego State this year as a team that even I thought was under the radar until recently. But Max, I would love to hear what you think.
Well, it's a team that's right behind your head right now. If you look, I got North Texas, the Mean Green. Had their hardest competition this past weekend against, or I guess it was already yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow, time flies. Against an undefeated Navy squad, and they had Navy their first loss of the season. Their first loss in 10 games. Check about number 2 scoring defense. How about the number 2 scoring offense in the entire country with North Texas? And the fact that they're doing this with a true freshman quarterback as well is just fascinating. And in that game against Navy, he had 4 total touchdowns. So the fact that he's doing it on both with his arm and his leg has been really impressive. So I think the Mean Green could make a run at the college football playoff. They'll probably, I think they might be the only one that could contend with any of these teams.
Drew Messemaker, too, a freshman quarterback who was a backup in high school.
Right.
That's a good point right there. I'm going to go with Memphis. I'm going with Memphis. They're the only team right now that's actually ranked at number 22. So I think that although sure you talk about that loss a couple of weeks ago to UAB, I think that's a complete anomaly if you look at Memphis. I mean, they're number 22 for a reason, and they have some big opportunities coming up this Friday against Tulane. Hudson, I heard you talking earlier in the show. There's no way they beat Tulane or even Navy in the last week of the season. I don't really know how you could say that. I mean, Memphis is a well-established program now that has destiny really in their own hands. hands, and I think that overall they should be the team representing the group of 5 in the college football playoffs because they have the best chance to actually pick up a victory.
Yeah, but I think when you compare the other teams, I think Hudson and I's just stand out a little more just because they've actually made a dent in the actual country.
Right, but there's no ranking next to your guys' team's name right there. And that's, so it's going to matter come the end of the season.
As soon as Memphis loses this week, that ranking's gone.
You are set on that result.
Sure am.
I don't think numbers matter that much at this point in the season. Tuesday they'll matter when the college football playoff rankings come out. And some numbers will count because Hudson and I give our top play of the week, plus our final words when we return on No Pulp.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Closing up shop on No Pulp with Hudson Ridley. I'm Max Gifford. Time for our plays of the week. And I mean, with college basketball right around the corner, college football in full swing, there's so many places I could have gone with this, but I went back to the ice with college hockey, and we're going to a top 15 tilt between Maine and Boston University. And not only this pass, I want you to watch the celebration. Oh! Brandon Holt went into the boards after he scored an insane backhand overtime goal. And the fact that Maine trailed 4 separate times in this game, and this is how it ended up finishing. Take one last look. Not only a beautiful pass, beautiful backhand finish by Holt, and then the finish, whoop! How about a little Irish exit, a little Black Bear goodbye from Brandon Holt to win things for Maine.
Irish exits like you at Fagan's last night. What I will say is this is still football season. Football has the keys to my heart. Let's go to the smartest conference in the country for one of the dumbest plays you will ever see. Josh Robinson on a sweep, gets stopped up, pulled to the ground. Wait a second, whoa. Josh Robinson is reversed field. Princeton's wide receiver against Cornell, breaks tackles, leaps into the end zone. One of the most improbable plays you will ever see. For a guy who goes to Princeton, this right here was such a dumb decision. Gets stopped up, nearly brought to his knees. You can barely see it there at the bottom of the screen, but he does get back up, roll all the way around and complete the play. Princeton ends up picking up the win as well.
So maybe the nerds aren't the most athletic in the world. I think that's what we got out of that. Time for our final words here on No Pulp. And for mine, let's take you back 4 years to November of 2021, where, ironically enough, NIL had only been legal for 4 months, and there were still only 4 teams in the college football playoff. A lowly 2-win Indiana football team, who was in the midst of an 8-game losing streak to end its season, was in shambles, and were about to get 40-pieced by Rutgers at home. But the only thing anybody in Bloomington remembers from that season to forget was a group of Hoosiers students in a half-empty stadium taking their shirts off when the wind chill read 29 degrees and waving them around. And once again, just a couple seasons later, shirtless student sections have taken the college football world by storm. This time, the fad started in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where a $10 bet turned into a congregation of Cowboys fans, bare-chested and having a blast. The best part about this craze has consumed everyone from coast to coast, whether it's the cream of the crop college football playoff contenders or the bottom of the barrel basement dwellers, all just to go tarps off for their teams. These next few weeks and months of college football are going to either be very fulfilling or very frustrating. So let's celebrate the fact that fans from all around the world are fixated on flailing their shirts around to have fun, because this sport rules, and so does a bunch of guys just being dudes.
For my final word, listen. I just cannot take this anymore. Colorado's 35-point loss to Arizona on Saturday forced me to accept that the Deion era is over. The Buffs are now 3-6, and over the past 2 weeks, they've allowed 105 points to conference opponents. Both their offense and defense sit outside the top 100 in the nation. That same media circus that garnered love at the beginning of Sanier's coaching tenure has now flipped. Every week, NFL Hall of Famer Warren Sapp, who happens to be the defensive line coach, puts on headphones and squeezes his 52-year-old body into tights and kicks over the pylons pregame like he's 19 years old, all while his team misses tackles and Deion Sanders Jr. films it all in a vlog series from the sideline. Last season was Deion Sanders' best at 9-4, and he had Travis Hunter and a whole lot more to work with, a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, Deion is absolutely done, and it pains me to say because I like him.
Well, even if the Deion era is done, and even if student sections keep flailing their shirts, that's all the time we have here on No Pulp. For Hudson Ridley, I'm Max Gifford. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.